Hello and welcome to this week's Controversial Corner. I am Sam Turner and I will be presenting this Controversial Corner. Of course, we had Jake Griffiths on last week where he was discussing Kepa's Carabao Cup conundrum. What a name, if I say so myself. I thought I kind of came up with a name, so I'm bragging a bit there. I thought it was a good name. Anyways, in this week's Controversial Corner, we are going to be going north of the border and we're going to be talking a bit about some international football that has gone on this week. So, Scotland. Yes, we're talking about Scotland and their opening few fixtures in the Euro 2020 qualification. So, let's get straight into it. Basically, Scotland have only picked up 3 points out of a possible 6 points in their first two matches, and they've played some pretty easy teams. They scarfed with a horrendous start in a defeat that has been basically highlighted to be one of the worst defeats for Scotland in their history, if not the worst, where they lost 3-0 away to Kazakhstan. They did manage to beat San Marino, however, that was one of the 3 points they did get away, which was a 2-0 victory. But if you ask any Scots fan if they predicted what they would get out of these matches, they would say 6 points. They would not say 3 points and a -1 goal difference. It's taken an early hit to Scotland's qualification campaign, and many people are thinking that it could be over for them really before it's even started. However, I still think they have a pretty good chance for qualification, and that's what we're going to be debating on this week's Controversial Corner. So, to start off with, we'll go through the polls that we put on Twitter from the commentary box to see your opinions of this debate before we actually discuss it. So, the first poll we put up was asking you, basically, after Scotland's defeat to Kazakhstan, what do you think the percentage likelihood is of Scotland going on to qualify for Euro 2020? Now, there was 4 options. You could have either picked 100% to 75%, 74% to 50%, 49% to 25%, or 24% to 0%. Now, we had 10 votes in this. We had 10% of people saying 74% to 50%. We had 40% of people going 49% to 50%. And we had 50% of people having 24 to 0%. So no one thinks that Scotland has a higher chance than 75% to get through to the qualification, get through to the Euro 2020 out of the people that we asked. I personally voted for 74% to 50% because, of course, I don't think you can really say with 75% plus certainty that any team is really going to qualify, apart from maybe the top 10 countries in the world in terms of rankings. So that's what I put, and I'm going to get on to this a bit later, but we do have one more poll that we'll just quickly go over before we get into that. The second poll was more of a light-hearted one, I think. So basically, we asked you about whether you think Scotland would beat San Marino. Of course, I think most people in their sane mind would have thought that. No offence to San Marino. But if Scotland hadn't beat San Marino, I think it could have been the worst result in maybe footballing history. I'm not sure. But it was kind of a tongue-in-cheek one. So, yeah, basically, there was 3 options. You had no chance, as in no chance of San Marino winning, could snap to draw, and then sneaky win, question mark. There were 7 votes on this one. Interestingly enough, only 29% of people said no chance, 43% of people said could snap to draw, and 28% of people said sneaky win. So I'm pretty sure there's probably some non-Scottish fans on there, and maybe even some pissed off Scottish fans as well. So basically, that's what your opinions were. I'm going to go into my opinions right away now. So, I still think that Scotland have a chance to qualify for Euro 2020, and here are my reasons why. Reason 1 is they have a very, very good squad for me, and it's underrated, I feel. Yes, there's some raw talent and youngsters in there, but I think when they develop as a team and get some more games under the belt, they can really flourish. You've got the likes of Johnny Russell, who's done very well in the MLS recently. You've got Ollie McBurney, who's very good. No bias here, Swansea fan, but I've seen him play before, and he just works his socks off, basically. You've got McKenna, the centre-back, who's really kind of pushing to move for a bigger club in the maybe in the Premier League or the Championship. Of course, you have James Forster, who is it Forrester? I think Forrest, sorry, who is a blinding winger, who I think should be getting a Premier League move in the future. You've got Robertson, of course, Liverpool fullback, captain. He was missing from this game, which is, I think, one of the big reasons they probably went on to lose it, because he, of course, is your captain and he's not able to be there. There was a few more dropouts from the team, so they were quite light on foot in terms of the games against Kazakhstan. So I don't know if we can take that 100% as that Scotland. I know it's a bad result, and McLeish said that, but I think if we can draw a line under that, I don't know why I'm saying we, but if they draw a line under that, I think the Scottish squad is still good enough to cause a few upsets. Now this brings me on to point B. Point B is really, it depends on point. So Russia is one of their teams that they will have to face in their group. I think Russia was seed 2 and Scotland was seed 3. Other teams, of course, being seed 1, Belgium, and then seed 4, Cyprus, and maybe seed 5, Kazakhstan, and seed 6, San Marino. So assuming that they can buck up their ideas as such and beat Kazakhstan at home, beat Cyprus over the two home and away, and beat San Marino at home, it really comes down whether they can beat Russia. Of course, Russia got a 4-0 victory away at Kazakhstan, so there could be a bit of a gulf between Scotland and Russia. But I think with Russia, they can be found out. I have a feeling they will struggle a bit. They lost to Sweden in a friendly prior to these first qualification matches. I think it was a month ago. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on that. So they are beatable, and I think those matches between Scotland and Russia will define who gets that automatic kind of qualification place below Belgium, because I think Belgium will steamroll this group no matter what. With Roberto Martinez in charge, I think they'll do very well. So that's my point 2. It's the crunch max is against Russia, and if they can beat Russia, I think they can go through. So that brings me on to my third point. So my third and final point is that they do have a berth into the playoffs already, which is, of course, the playoffs to decide what other teams get to go to the Euros who weren't quite good enough to get through the group stage automatically. Now, they got this berth from becoming top of their Nations League group, which included Albania and Israel. Now, this playoff structure is a bit confusing, I have to say. So at the moment, I think they are in pathway C for the playoffs, which means they could face at the moment either Finland, Serbia, and I believe it is Norway. So those are some tough sides. I mean, Finland have not had the greatest starts to the Euro qualification match. Neither Norway. I think Serbia, I'm not showing their results, but Serbia are a really good team. And of course, they have to beat 2 of these teams to get to the final. However, this can all change, because basically, if all the top teams in berth, I think it's a berth A, qualify, teams from berth B will go into berth A, and teams from berth C will go into berth B, so they could even face any harder teams. But if we just look at these 4 teams, I think Scotland have to rely on Serbia qualifying automatically, which in my opinion, I think they will, because they, of course, had a pretty good an interesting World Cup, shall I say, where they were unlucky to come out of a group of Costa Rica and Brazil and Switzerland. I think if they manage to automatically qualify and another team from, say, berth D comes up to their berth C, I think Scotland can beat either Norway or Finland, but I think they would definitely not beat Serbia. So I think if Scotland are going to qualify using the playoff systems, it's going to have to mean that Serbia aren't in their berth, because Serbia will steamroll them. And that's my final point. I still, as I said, overall think Scotland will qualify. It does depend on those 2 last points, because I think with the point I made at the start, they have a really, really young, exciting team. I'm still not sure if McLeish is the right kind of manager to take them forward. I think they should have brought in someone like David Moyes, or even kept Gordon Strachan. Is it Gordon Strachan? I think it's Gordon Strachan. I can't remember his first name, but it's definitely Strachan. As they were much better candidates for the door, but maybe even Steve Clarke, the Kilmarnock manager, and is it McGuinness, the Aberdeen manager? These would be much better candidates, but of course they're stuck with McLeish, and I think he's not a bad manager. And hopefully, for me, I hope Scotland do well, as I'm really excited to see what the talents they have can do. So overall, I think I'm going to put my neck out on the line. I think they will qualify for Euro 2020. Let me know what you think. Of course, we can read it out in the next controversial corner. Either I or Jake does. So comment down below. Tweet us anything. Don't get all hatey, because I think Scotland will still qualify. But yeah, thank you for watching this controversial corner. I hope you've enjoyed it. Please do get involved in the next one. Just look out for polls on our Twitter, which is of course @Box Commentary. But yeah, thank you for listening. I've been Sam Turner. Enjoy your footballing weekend, and see you.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. If you'd like to get involved with us online, you can do so on social media. We're on Twitter, Instagram and Snapchat. We do lots of polls and posts on there. That is all under Box Commentary. And then secondly, if you'd like to listen to our podcasts on different websites and devices, you can do so on iTunes, Spreaker and YouTube. All of those are under the Commentary Box. And then lastly, to personally get involved with us by email to ask any questions or queries, you can do under the email of the commentarybox.contact@gmail.com.